Ah, bonfire night. That strange British tradition where we celebrate democracy by setting things on fire. It's the anniversary of Guy Fawkes wanting to do away with Parliament, though worth also remembering his main target was the King, the executive. Almost 411 years to the day later, it's Article 50 that's the burning issue in Westminster. Should it be MPs who authorise it, or the PM? It's the decision by the High Court that's got everyone in quite a spin.
Hello there.
It caught by surprise even those behind it.
It's not about how anyone voted. Every one of us voted for the best country and the best future. This case was about process, not politics.
For others, it was all about politics. The government immediately announced it would appeal the decision in the Supreme Court.
Mr. Speaker, the government is disappointed by the court's judgment. The country voted to leave the European Union in a referendum approved by Act of Parliament. The government is determined to respect the result of the referendum.
The next day, the decision was slammed in a number of damning headlines, and that led to the papers themselves feeling the heat of criticism. The Prime Minister, meanwhile, was quick to reassure European colleagues there was no problem. She'd still be able to trigger Article 50 and start exit negotiations by next March. But then, something else unexpected. The Conservative MP Stephen Phillips, a QC, resigned his seat in protest at the government's handling of Brexit so far. An explosive week, or so it seemed.
Actually, this is how the British Constitution gets made. We don't have a written constitution. What we have is a system where Parliament makes laws and the courts interpret those laws, and that's exactly what's happened this week.
And all of this was rather avoidable, wasn't it?
I think if the Referendum Act had made provision for what should happen at this stage, said once we've got an answer from the people, this is what then has to happen to give effect to that answer, then we wouldn't be in this situation, no.
One prominent Leave campaigner told me the wording, or lack of it, on the EU referendum bill had been David Cameron's last stitch-up. The government now accepts that if it loses its case in the Supreme Court, which many legal experts say it will have to draft legislation that will go through Parliament. And if it doesn't have enough support for that, well, Theresa May could choose to hold a snap general election. There are MPs, after all, who said they would, at the very least, seek to amend a bill, if not vote against it.
If the government were to pursue a very hard Brexit approach, which I judge and other MPs judge to be not in the national interest, then I would vote against that and say, go back to the drawing board, come up with a better approach to Brexit, and then bring it back to Parliament.
If you have the opportunity, because there will be a chance to amend the Article 50 legislation, would you attempt to insert into that a second referendum, which is the policy you stood on in the Labour Party once the negotiations are over?
Yes, I will.
All the Tory MPs I've spoken to say there's no appetite for a general election. And anyway, the majority of them know that they'd be toast if they got in the way of the will of their constituents. The bigger worry, say a number of MPs, is the Lords, who don't have constituents and their votes to worry about. Several Leave-supporting Tory MPs have told the Sunday Politics the government should just get on with drafting legislation and dump the Supreme Court appeal. They may be warming to that idea. Senior government sources have told us one possibility is to bring forward a one-clause bill in the new year, get it through the Commons in a week, and dare the Lords to oppose it.